Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. You know, when we first started, broke ground on this facility, I always pictured and eagerly anticipated the first state of the city that I could hold here. So we're now at that time. But before we start, I just want to thank the Chamber for organizing this. They do a great job of getting the word out, getting everyone here involved, and just helping promote, Twinsburg the way that they do. Also like to thank Kent State. I've been asked to be on the board of the advisory board of Kent State, so that's been a new venture for me recently, and it's been great really learning ways that to make Twinsburg kind of known as a college town. People don't think of it that way, but we've got just a fabulous facility here in Twinsburg, and I'm looking forward to the work that I can do on that board. So each year, I try to look for something that happens during the previous year that will add a little bit of entertainment to start my State of the City. And so we've had a couple of different things that have happened. And literally 2 days after, I think, last year's State of the City, I got this email. And I don't know, I think it's from a resident, I'm not sure, but it just says, howdy, your spherical Christmas lights hanging from the trees in your town square, lovely. Well, I couldn't take credit for the town square, that's the township, but And then, this was the other part of it. So Morgan and I read this and we're like, I don't really know what to even think of this. So I tried to find something and I don't know, I talked to service, I talked to the township, and I just can't logistically find a way to get squirrels in the Christmas balls to hang on the trees, but I thought it was an interesting, email that I got. And I get lots of these, so this is just one of a few. So here's what we're going to kind of cover today. I put this picture up just because I thought City Hall looked beautiful this year. I don't know about you guys, but I thought, Derek kind of led the show on it, and it turned out gorgeous. Those are actually live Christmas trees that we'll be able to repurpose around the city, but I think everything looked really, really beautiful this year. But here's our agenda. So we're going to try to move through it as quick as we can. Economic development. Our director, Larry Finch, couldn't be here today. He's suffering out down in Florida, so he's not going to be here. But again, when we look at economic development, Cornerstone has been one of those projects that, when we looked at a potential mothballed auto manufacturing facility and what it's turned into today, we continue to just, be excited about everything that's happening there. So this particular picture is taken with our drone. The city has a drone. I'll talk a little bit more about it later. But we have two new facilities that are here. We've got a spec building that's going to be a multi-tenant building that's under construction, and this is literally under construction. This is probably only a couple-week-old photo. And then this is an O'Reilly distribution center. So this is 404,000 square feet, over 100 jobs, and $11 million in payroll. Just fantastic economic development that we have come into Cornerstone that, again, will hopefully increase that tax base. We have other projects. While I was even preparing this, we're signing some final agreements with another big company that wants to build from, they found land off Old Mill. They're going to be building a new facility. So we're running out of space, but Twinsburg is still a very desirable place to set up businesses, and we keep welcoming them. We have a lot of small businesses that come to Twinsburg. And so here is just a sampling of some of the ones that either expanded or added new facilities or just started a business here in Twinsburg over the past year. And so I don't have enough time to talk about all of them, but again, this just gives you an idea that even on a small business standpoint, people like to come to Twinsburg and operate. We look at economic development goes hand in hand with our CIC. This is a slide actually from last year. It was a little bit different names, but so here's our board members. So the Community Improvement Corps really is focused on redevelopment of our downtown area. We've got councilmen that are on here. We've got Scott Barr, Bill Fieri, Joanne McFerrin. We've represented from the school district, Kathy Powers. We've got Dolph Cayley and Matt Solera from our business sector. And then we added 2 resident members, Dan Sipin, and then we had Deborah Jones-Haley, who recently resigned because she moved slightly outside of the city. So we're going to be posting for a new board member on the CIC. But again, this focus that we have is on this central area, the southeast quadrant of redevelopment. And we've been pursuing it probably since 2013 or so. Conversations with developers, conversations with landowners trying to assemble property. And hopefully this year we can announce some type of project. We've got an investment group. So we started first with the developers and we tried to move upward from there. That didn't work. So now we started assembling the land ourselves. And we're looking now at the money, moving downward from the money, and it seems that we're making some progress, so hopefully we'll be able to make some announcements. But there's a piece of land here that the CIC purchased, so this is a big section that we own. Of course, the old school property we own here. We've got real positive negotiations going on in the middle here, so we've got a lot of activity happening in this last year that hopefully we're going to see something happen. One of the things that we did this year, we received a grant, a Connecting Communities grant from AMATS. And Twinsburg has a ton of trails, okay, and we're very proud of those trails. One of the things, though, that we were missing is the connection of those trails. So this was a $25,000 grant that allowed us to do a feasibility study to look at ways to connect our trails throughout the city. One of my big goals is, as we redevelop our downtown areas, to be able to connect our trail system to our downtown area. And just really literally in the last week, there's a 13-acre parcel that the city may have an option to buy with about a 75% grant that would help make that connection. So we're constantly looking, working with Tinkers Creek and different people, but this just shows you some of the possibilities. And we have other parts of this study that shows us the potential financial cost of this would be, so that council can plan that out. If we do decide to do that, council can plan out the spending to say, okay, we can do small pieces of this, and so they broke it up for us in these different phases. And you'll see the priorities as they're numbered there. We move on to our building department. So last year we had about 1,200 construction permits, over almost $14 million in value. That's both commercial and residential, and almost 3,000 inspections. So while our construction in Twinsburg has slowed down, we are still seeing a lot of activity going through our building department. We've got 3 home projects, residential projects, just underway. Last year I was talking about Corbett's Farm, Fox Hill, and Boulderbrook, which are complete now. Now we've got Shepherd Preserve, Porter Reserve, and Whispering Woods. So you see the number of homes. All these are currently under construction. And in Twinsburg, you're not going to see large developments. Basically, you're going to see these small little pockets of land, because builders still want to come here. I mean, there will be, as soon as these open up, they sell them. I mean, Corbett's Farm, you look at Corbett's Farm, when they first, 80 or so homes in there. I mean, those sold, rapidly. It was a couple-year period that, $500,000 homes sold out. So we don't have a problem selling homes here. One of the biggest things we're missing, though, and this is one of the reasons the property that we own, this connects to here, that we tried twice to get rezoned, is every week I get multiple phone calls about, cluster homes, upscale townhomes, single story for our empty nesters. We have a ton of residents that built in Ethan's Green, Meadowwood, that kids are out now, they want to downsize, they want to stay in Twinsburg. And by downsize, they don't necessarily mean I want to spend less money. They just want a different setup of a residential product to go into. And that's their biggest thing that we're lacking, I think, in the residential market, is that particular one. So don't be surprised if council and myself start pushing and trying to look at showing the residents what I guess council vision is for a property like we have here, or other areas, to try to get some type of development to satisfy that need that we have here in Twinsburg. Engineering. So here's the projects we did this past year. So our road projects, these are the resurfacings we did on our interior roads. Sidewalk projects, so we typically budget every year to replace sidewalks. We have a couple sidewalk programs, but this is where we actually go out and replace. We hire contractors. If it's areas that are near tree lawns, or if it's sewers that are sinking, and we try to repair those. And then we had a bigger sewer project at Joanne and Lila Place this past year. These are projects coming up. So of course we're working on 91. Everyone is aware of that particular project as you drive through it on a daily basis. We've got a big sanitary sewer project. Chamberlain Road resurfacing. People have been screaming about Chambering Road for years. The fortunate part about economic development is the O'Reilly, when they signed that lease and decided to build there, we were able to parlay that into a grant to help redo Chamberlain Road. So Chamberlain Road is going to be resurfaced this year. And hopefully we'll be able to take sections of it and make it concrete so we don't have the destruction from the Waste Management Company and some of the trucks coming in and out of Cornerstone. Road program, we've got 8 that are slotted for coming up this year. Here's the value of it. So here's the streets that we'll be doing. So there's really not funny things that happen in engineering very often, but it's amazing with technology these days how quickly information can get to me. So this was one that, it's a little bit off. These construction guys, they don't live in the area probably, so when they program this, we let that slide. But when I got this one, and I'm from the South, so phonetically this sounds correct to me, being from Alabama, but it's spelled wrong, so we had to immediately try to correct this. But. All right, human resources, IT. So here we've got our current workforce. We really have not changed that much except for this facility. This facility added 4 full-time jobs and a number of part-time jobs. So if you remember anything about our numbers from last year, our part-time jobs have gone up some because we have servers, we have cooks, we have banquet staff, those kind of things. But that's what we need for this facility. We still offer over 100 plus seasonal jobs each year, and that's either at the golf course or service department, camp leaders, lifeguards. We constantly are able to provide good jobs for kids and college kids, in this area. I put diverse workforce in here. This is Black History Month. It's a very important time. When I came on board in Twinsburg, we had not ever hired a black policeman or fireman. That was from day one, one of my goals and priorities. I had meetings with both departments. And I had a resident, I don't think she's here today, but come up and tell me, we have such a diverse community that we should be proud of. But our employee base at the city does not reflect that diversity. And I'll never forget that. She's like, our kids need to see that same diversity in our employee base and our workforce. So that was one of the goals that I had, and we looked at why that was occurring and made some changes. And I'm proud to say now that it's different. We have 2 black officers. We've got a Hispanic officer. We just hired a female officer. We have our first black fireman that we've hired this past year. And that's just so important, I think, for Twinsburg to be a representative of the community that we live in with our employee base. So that's one of my, I guess, proudest things that we've been able to accomplish. And the fact that we're going to continue to pursue that is just extremely important. When we look at health insurance, and this falls kind of under human resources, when I took over, we were at 126% claim ratio. So that meant the insurance company was paying out 26% more than what we were giving them, which was a very difficult position to be in. Through our wellness program, which is still active, we consistently change it to try to adapt to our employees. And just really through educating our employee base on how to spend their dollars. We've seen a big shift toward the HSA, which we promote because the claims are lower and it actually is a better benefit for our employees. We went to 94%, 67%, and then this year, 74%. I think our claims are a little bit higher. We've hired a bunch of young employees that are having babies, and babies are expensive, so our claims went up a little bit. But we've come a long way, and the green line, the 80%, is where that's that kind of baseline that the insurance company looks at when they start looking at those renewals. Okay, and just to give you an example, when you look at expenses, and I'm going to talk a lot about finances when I get there, but this just gives you something that we have very little control over, and it adds really no benefit to the city. In 2012, we were at $2.2 million in expense for health insurance. This past year, we were at 3.5, and that was flat from 2016, and that had never happened before in the city of Twinsburg. We never had no rate increase in our health insurance. But this just shows you that, this is $1.2 million. we've got the same number of employees, we offer the same health insurance and the same coverage, but it's costing us $1 million more to do it. So, when we look at later on, when we look at reserves and eating up reserves and the things that we're doing, this is a number that we can't control. It's not like we can, unless we start decreasing bodies, which I don't want to do because of the services and the departments we have here provide. Compared to other cities, it's hard to stand next to Twinsburg and say, we offer the same amount of services to our residents in the city of Twinsburg. There's very few communities that can do that. But this is just one of those expenses that just stands out that a lot of people just don't think about. IT projects. These are things that have happened IT-wise. So, of course, there was a lot of work here. They asked me, do you want 2 screens? I'm like, heck yeah, we spent a lot of money on these. Put the 2 screens up. So, but a lot of work, our IT guys, we've got 3 IT guys that it's amazing they can handle this whole entire city, but especially the police department and the fire department. There's a lot, everything is technology driven now. So a lot of work, so the MDTs, the mobile terminals were installed in all our fire trucks this year. Just when you talk about implementing an antivirus software, when you look at the hundreds of computer systems and everything that we do and having them all connect, that's a big project that they do. We constantly look at cyber awareness training because everything is becoming more and more, hidden in terms of emails and different things that come into our system. So, our IT department is doing more training just to try to prevent employees from pushing a button that they shouldn't push that exposes us. So I said we bought a drone, which is a really cool toy. And I like to fly it and learned how to fly it. And we hopefully get the safety forces using it more. But this was a video of, let's see if we get it to work here. So I told Mark one night, I'm like, hey, we got a concert going on. It's a beautiful night. Let's go out and let me go get some video of the pool. I wanted to fly over to the concert. Well, about right here, I lose connection. And so the drone is trained to turn around and come straight back to the point it took off from at City Hall. And unfortunately at night, the collision sensors don't work. So unfortunately, this was my flight. And Mark and I freaked out. We couldn't find it. And he came in, he was up all night because this is an expensive drone. And he was able to pull in the video and find the coordinates. And it was back behind the dumpsters by Chamberlain School in the woods. And he actually went right to it and found it. And fortunately, we had the $100 insurance policy and they gave us a brand new one. But I had an anonymous book left on my desk the next day. So, and I think it's the same book that I gave Mark when he dropped it into the pond a year earlier. So, all right, moving on. So, safety forces. Our fire department, we had almost 3,000 calls last year, which was a little bit above again 2017 numbers. These are inspection and training hours that we did. A couple of photos. I thought this one's really neat. I hadn't seen this one, but this is Stan Bendis. He's one of our inspectors, and this is Flat Stanley that he carries around with him. So I thought it was kind of cool. Some of the projects that they do, of course, they're out in trucks and they're out taking care of our residents from a safety standpoint, but they also do a lot of community work too. And here's one of them. This is put on by our fire department, and VMS, Dolph is here today. He helps decorate our trucks. You'll see all the stickers. But the kids just love this. There's hundreds of stops. It goes from 7 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. They're out dropping off gifts to kids. But I know they have a blast do it. They volunteer time. Everything gets donated to be able to put this on. We had some retirements this year. So Bob Davitt, Dan Wagner. Bob, long-term firefighter. Dan was a long-term inspector here for the city. So both of these guys, again, this is talking about our workforce, and we're going to see more and more retirements as the years come, but these guys will definitely be missed by the department. 2 new guys we brought on. So we had Brandon Cooper and Demetrius Butler. And so usually I have like a stock photo, but I thought this was a better photo of them kind of cutting their cake. They love cake. So we swore in another officer last Tuesday night, and they couldn't wait to get out there to get the cake. So, but great guys, great additions to the department, and we're really looking forward to what their long-term being here with Twinsburg. We lost a couple of firefighters that, of course, had been retired, but were part of our department, Lieutenant Galbraith and Russ Terrell. But these are two guys, and it was kind of neat with Lieutenant Galbraith. The family actually asked to have a memorial service at the fire department. And so Chief and everybody set that up for them to come there, and the family, and it was just a really neat event for them to do that there. Unfortunately, well, I guess it kind of fitting, but they got a call right in the middle of it. So some of the guys had to get up and run and go to a call. But again, we just wanted to make sure we recognize them. Their open house, if you haven't been to our open house for fire department, it's thousands of kids and parents that swarm our fire department, and it's really it's a fantastic community event. Each year, I don't think it ever changes. There's always tons of people. The fire department loves it. All the people that come and help have a great time, and the kids just have a blast. And I thought just some of these pictures were neat, So, but it's really all about the kids. Under the police department. So last year we had almost 32,000 calls, 1,700 arrests, and 487 crashes. So these are traffic accidents. Only 450 of them were at the roundabout. So not all of them. But anyway, they stay busy. We were able to swear in 2 new officers this year. So Vinny and Maggie joined the police force, and they're doing great. 2 great additions to our police force. And we were lucky to get both of them. This was a cool picture. So Maggie didn't realize she was going to make the state of the city this year, but she's trained in, I guess, I don't know if it's CPR, whatever it is, for animals. And so we had a situation where we actually needed her to go out this year and do that, and she stopped and was able to help this little dog breathe better after a fire situation. Shop with a cop. So our police force and their union raises money every year and join other police forces to shop for kids in Twinsburg that may not have a Christmas if it wasn't for the gifts and the donations that our police force give. So you look, these are all Twinsburg kids. Okay, and each one of those kids received either $100 or in excess of $100 worth of gift cards to go shop at either Target or Walmart. So you can quickly kind of add up the numbers, but this is a significant event that has an impact on our community. And they meet other police forces at Stowe, and there's hundreds and hundreds of kids that take over a Target or Walmart. I've participated in it for a couple years, and I feel bad for the people that are actually going there to shop that don't know what's happening, because it's just all these trucks or cars and sirens and everything pull up, and the place just gets taken over. National Night Out. So this was an event, this is our 3rd year. So we started, our first year was in 2016, and we created a challenge between our police and fire. And this is, so they'd select teams, and we do different events, and they do it in front of the whole city, and they've gone back and forth. Police won first year, fire, police, so it's nice. It's going back and forth, and they take pride in that. This year, someone suggested we do a donut eating contest with the police. And so that was a big hit. We had a couple kids, and we had 25 donut holes, and whoever got through it quick first was the winner. And so Rodney, who's a newer officer, Rodney Gist, and I love the shirts they found for it too. But anyway, he won, but then later, through the photos and everything, someone blew this up and said, look, you sure he won? That's his boot. That's his boot, did he cheat? So we'll have to make sure we watch that next year. But and then this over here, we have carts. So this was, I think, a grant that the police department got. And these are carts, and the goggles on his forehead, they're actually supposed to be on his eyes. I think he's just reliving his childhood memories and having a blast. But the goggles, there's 5 or 6 goggles that simulate different levels of intoxication. And the goal of this is to drive, shows you how hard it is to drive through these obstacles with these goggles on. But this guy just decided, I'm just going to have fun with the cart. So. But anyway, it's a great event, and it gets bigger every year. Part of that event, so we have a new canine dog, Caesar. And so Caesar, Yasso, the first 2 years, got to attack me. Caesar this year was ready, I guess, to bite me. And Caesar, when I first met Caesar, you really couldn't pet Caesar. He was still being trained, and he was a very small German Shepherd, and he got really big over the last year. And so when I'm putting the suit on, I'm with another canine officer who lives in Twinsburg, and he's got this look on his face, and I'm putting the suit on, and he goes, all right, he hasn't bit too many people, so just, when he gets on you, just keep moving. Just make sure you keep moving. I'm like, because you don't want him to let go and re-attack you. I'm like, okay, I'm like, all right. And he goes, and there's a few rare dogs that are leg biters. So he's a leg biter. I just want to warn you. And I'm like, if you know me, I love to run and work out. I'm looking, this guy clamps onto my calf and I'm done, So anyway, they put me on the sideline, and Officer E, he's got Caesar ready to go, and says, okay, just start running. So I'm in this thing, and I'm, trying to run, and I'm like running, and I get to like 40 yards away, and finally I see him let him go, and this dog comes at me 100 miles an hour. Yasso couldn't run like this dog can, so I had to actually stop and brace so he wouldn't knock me down. So I'm slinging him around because he said don't stop moving, so I'm just moving, and I look back and I see E, and I'm like, come on. And so later I talked to him, I was like, what took you so long? He's like, well, he goes, I can't pull him off too quick because that's his prize, is to bite you. So if I pull him off too quick, it's going to, it's going to impact his training. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I believe that, but that was the story I got. So this year marked the 10-year anniversary of the loss of Josh McTarian. It was a beautiful memorial that was held up by City Hall. We had a really large turnout, but it's one of those things that, each year we take time to recognize Josh and his family, and it's something that I'm glad our police force is never going to let this community forget, because it impacted everyone. Our community, it impacted our employees, especially our fire and safety that had to respond to it. But this was a beautiful memorial that they did this year, being the 10th anniversary. So I wanted to make sure that we took a moment to talk about that. All right, moving on to Public Works. So here's a list of just a sampling of the things that our service department takes care of. Branch shipping, you look at the amount of homes they went to. Leaf collection, and I want to say that they actually were out like 2 weeks ago collecting leaves. So those that live in Twinsburg may have seen our trucks out. Our guys were determined to finish their 6th round of leaf collection. So we were able to do that and get that all complete. Different things. We last year applied 7,100 tons of salt. So far this year we're at 2,000 ton. So there's been a crazy market for salt this year. We've had to kind of slow down the amount that we're spreading in application, which has actually kind of been good to look at some of the potential efficiencies and cost savings that we can do in the future. So if you live on interior streets, you may have noticed that we're plowing them, but we're not heavily salting them like we had in the past. And we've had a winter where we've got a big storm, and then it warms up to 60 degrees and melts everything off, and then we wait for the next one. Senior driveways. We plow 300 senior driveways. So this is another program that we do in Twinsburg. Most of the seniors qualify to have it done for free. If they're above a certain income level, I think we charge them, what, $50? 25? $25 for the season. So that's a program that, again, most communities don't offer. So when you look at, 14 times at 300, that's a lot of plowing we did for our seniors. Sidewalk leveling. So this is another thing that we have equipment. No other community does this. I've asked. We were having a lot of trips in our neighborhoods with unlevel sidewalks, and it's challenging to get. It's a resident's responsibility, but it's a lot of times challenging, and it's just getting them to do it, or they may financially not be able to do it. And so we bought equipment. We trained a couple of guys, and so all summer long we send these guys around to level sidewalks in our neighborhoods, and that's had a tremendous impact, I think, just in the overall condition of our neighborhoods as they age. And then, of course, mowing. I mean, our guys are mowing like crazy all year long. Last year was a crazy year for grass growing. Here's just some pictures of our service guys in action. And I couldn't get all of them on there. I mean, some of the things that they do, and I'll talk about later, is, any interior work we do in the wintertime, we put guys on shifts. So they do all of our remodeling. We got guys that can build cabinets. We got guys, if you go to the restaurant and some of the walls and different things in there, we build that service department. The bars there in the back, that bar right there, our service department built. So we have a very talented group of guys that can do a lot of different things, but this just shows you some of the work that they've done. Of course, I had to show the leaf collection. This is what some of the driveways look like when they pull up, when they start branch chipping. But Tinker's Creek, a lot of residents don't realize we send guys into Tinker's Creek to clean out Tinker's Creek to make sure it's flowing properly, to make sure there's no debris in there. These are just things that residents take for granted that may not know happen. Of course, potholes, and then a lot of work at our amphitheater. We have a new cover this year, but they rebuilt the retaining wall. They do a lot of work, so they're an important part of our community. So I wanted to show some of the work they do. Parks and Rec. This is our outdoor water park in its glory in the middle of the summer. So, this is something that we continue to invest money into. We've got new tables, new chairs. Our snack bar there is doing well. We keep adding to it. But again, this is just one of those amenities that Twinsburg has to offer its residents. This is our fitness center, and so I wanted to highlight one of our new areas. And so the city is constantly looking for that public, I'll label it public-private partnership. This is more of a public-public partnership, but different, thinking outside the box when it comes to funding different projects and different things that go on here in the city. And so this was one that we were able to partner with Kent State, and they're providing the funding for this new training zone that we have, and this allows for a lot of circuit training, so a lot of new equipment we were able to buy, the turf. But again, and this, as we work through this agreement, one of the things, as we promote fitness in our community as a whole, one of the things that I didn't realize was that a Kent State student that goes to school here does not have access to the Kent State facility on campus to work out. They have to pay to go there. And so I said, well, that's not right. Plus, it's far. And so with this partnership, if a kid walks in, or an adult, with a current Kent ID at our fitness center, through this partnership, they can work out for free. And it allows Kent State and their employees at the Kent State campus here to work on a wellness program, which would allow their employee base at our regional campus to come also work out at our fitness center. So it's a cool partnership that goes just beyond trading money for advertising, which they're going to get. It hopefully is benefiting the people involved in that partnership too. Our senior center, I always have to mention our senior center. They're our liveliest bunch here in Twinsburg, and that was not meant to be a joke, but they have over 500 members. If you look at their schedule, there's constantly stuff going on, but it's a really fun group. It's a really fun group to be part of. I've never highlighted this, and I don't know why I haven't, but we've got just a fantastic community theater that puts on just amazing shows every single year. And if you look from 1996 to present, here's the shows that they've done. And if you've been to any of them, they're really just fantastic productions. They're professionally done, and the people that do them, and then most of the people that are selected to be in it are Twinsburg residents. And so I encourage you, as the new show comes out, to go to it and take your family, because they really do a fantastic job. Here's just a slide of events that we do, and this is not even all of them, but Luminosity, where we get thousands of people to light up City Hall, walk down to the square, and we light up the square, partnership with Reminderville and the township. We do a Hanukkah event called Light the Night. Our adult egg hunt, which if you don't know anything about, is crazy. I mean, we sell 300 tickets in 15 minutes at $20 a piece. And we hide eggs in the woods, and we send adults, after giving them alcohol and food, out in the woods with flashlights to go find eggs for prizes like gift cards to Dairy Queen or something. But it's I don't know how it got so popular, but it's our most popular event. we started yoga in the park, and it was just amazing how, we do it either up in the Metro Parks or we do it at our amphitheater, how many people we get out for that. But just all these events that we offer here in Twinsburg, again, you look at a lot of different ways in the functioning of a city, but Parks and Rec and what we do is just extremely important to that quality of life. And, it all feeds into, home values and everything. And it's just a circle. When someone's coming to look at, relocating to Twinsburg, these are a lot of the things that they look at. The golf course. So here's some of the revenues that we saw on the golf course last year. I think there was some excitement about this particular facility. Our rounds were up, and other golf courses have closed around us. I know there's another one in Solon that's getting ready to close for the season, but there's we hear mixed things about that. People get I can't believe we're in the golf business and there's courses closing, but there's still a demand for golf. There's still a demand for golf, and I get excited when courses close. Because they're going to come here, especially if they're closing in Solon or they're closing in Kent or they're closing, in Aurora. Those golfers are going to come here, and we've put money and invested into this course. And you'll talk to any golfer, this is one of the top public courses in Ohio. So we're proud of it, and you're starting to see the numbers start to increase. We've got 20 leagues. I know we signed up 2 more leagues for this year, so our league play is going to go up some. These were the events we hosted last year, and we're already adding to that list with big events. We never could host a big golf event here because we didn't have a facility to host it out of. So now we do, and people are starting to recognize that, and they're starting to come here. This is the room you're sitting in here. So our banquet side, we did approximately 28 events already. We've got over 30 on the books. Abby gets calls every single day about events that people want to host here, whether it's a wedding or it's a shower or it's a business event. This technology works great for any of those, and that's why we set it up this way. Right in the middle here, we can divide this into 2 separate rooms with a soundproof wall that comes out in the back. But again, we're excited about what we think can happen here. And these are not small events. I was shocked when I started seeing some of the the sticker price on what a wedding costs these days. But again, these are big events that are coming here, and I think with this view and everything, I think we're still going to be one of the most popular event centers in the Northeast Ohio area. The restaurant, if you haven't been there yet, I think it's fantastic. I think as we see over these winter months, we opened up in September, and this is a rough time of year to open a restaurant, but again, I think it gave us the opportunity to make sure our staffing was in place, operating smoothly. We got fine-tuning our menu. There's going to be a new menu coming out in the next couple of weeks. So I think while we were disappointed we missed that golf season last year, this has allowed us to really plan and look at our operations going into the warmer months this year, which are going to be insane in terms of the demand for that patio out there. It's beautiful, and we had a couple warm days where we'd have 6 tables seated inside and we had an hour wait for the patio. So I think we're going to see that all summer long. This is a promo video that we put together for Rock the Park. So that was put together last year. Those are just the bands that came last year. But what an amazing, I think there's just an amazing promo video for what we offer here. And again, there's still so many people that don't realize we do this whole concert series back in the woods behind our football stadium each year. And it's growing, it's getting bigger. We've got sponsors. It's just been a fantastic addition to, again, some of those amenities and those things that Twinsburg has to offer. All right, now moving into the finance department. So when you look at, I guess a lot of the talk that's been going around our city is of course, and we spend a lot of time doing it too, is focusing on finances. When you look at our income tax collection, so in 2009, when the 0.25% was added, we started to see a slow increase in our income tax collection, and it actually peaked in 2013. Quietly in 2013, along with that income tax increase, we also have an increase in expenses. We were building reserves, our income tax was going up, but our expenses went up. We were taking anywhere from, and when you look at union contracts, there was what's called steps in union contracts. So within those union contracts, we were seeing anywhere from 2 to 7% increases, even up to 9% increases of employees, at least especially our newer employees, and the amount of salaries. So our budget is about 60% people. That's what we need to operate a city. And so when that 0.25% kind of peaked 13, we quietly used up of $1.5 million in reserves, and then that 0.25% got repealed. And then you can see the dip that we took in 2015, which was my first year as mayor, and made it challenging. And so we had to then start a path of finding a way to reduce expenses, increase revenue as we moved into the next few years. Fortunately, through economic development, we've had an increase in our income tax revenue. It's been slight, but you can see at least we're heading back up the right direction. When we look at our ending general fund balances, we were actually, 2008, we were around 3 million, and then we increased it up, and then between that 13 and 14 is when we started using reserves. Our use of reserves, peaked in 15 to 16 with some big capital projects, and then we've reduced it both years, and with council, we'll continue to reduce it and look for ways to do it. Now, the challenging part about that is when we look at 60% of our budget being bodies, we've made sure that every employee has taken at least cost of living increases over all of these years. So we have a large section of our budget where we're taking up 2 to 3% every year, and then the operations side we're trying to squeeze down. We can only squeeze so much out of the operations side. I mean, our departments operate extremely lean, and so without going to each department saying you need to reduce your workforce, we've done a lot that we can do to reduce our expenditures and still maintain the services. And that's the biggest take for the residents that I want to share, is that when you line up our services and you're talking about free waste removal, free branch chipping, free leaf collection, free sidewalk leveling, and all the amenities that we provide in Twinsburg, there's very few communities that offer that. And especially that can offer it the way that we offer it and within the budget that we do it. So when you look at our general fund, that's especially, and there's a lot of communities that would take 8.2 million in a second in reserves. Macedonia, I know, was hoping to have $250,000 left in reserves at the end of the year. They had a good year, so they have close to $1 million. They were excited about that. And that's not anything against Macedonia. They've gone through some challenging times, but again, we're still healthy. We're still what's considered healthy. Do I want to see that go any lower? Of course not. I'd love to keep that $8 to $10 million range in our general fund of reserves, and we'll work toward doing that. General fund draws, again, this is that downward trend where 2015 it peaked, 16, 17, 18, these are the draws against the reserves. And this is all post the repeal of that 0.25% tax increase. And the amount that, had we retained that 0.25%, we wouldn't be probably having a lot of these discussions. Would we still have to lean up operations? Absolutely. But the increase that we see generally in our economic base would have also probably increased some of that, the value of that 0.25%, which was around $3 or $4 million. So, that was a hard one to overcome, and that's one thing that council and myself have been working hard toward. When you look at what we've spent out of our general fund, in 2018 actually would be about $1 million lower. So if you took the $1 million that we transferred over to the golf course to buy furniture, fixtures, those kind of things, our actual operation expenses were about $700,000-800,000 less than it was the year before. So we're making improvements and doing the best we can with what we're work with without reducing our workforce, which for me is the most important thing. These are our 9 largest funds that we spend out of. And so this gives you an idea of what those funds have done from 17 to 18, okay? And so as a whole, and again, this general fund would be, and this number would be lower had we taken the amount of capital that we put into the golf course that went through the general fund this past year. So each of our areas that that we spend most of our money out of, we've taken decreases in. And I don't know that that gets translated to our residents very well, and we probably need a better job of doing that. All the residents seem to get focused on and they hear is our reserves are going down, our reserves are going down. Yeah, they're going down, absolutely. But we're working hard to fix that. When we look at salaries and wages, again, this is what I was talking about, and this shows you where we spend our money, salary and wages wise. Our Parks and Rec has a very large presence with our residents in terms of things we offer to do, but from a salaries and wage standpoint, they're next to the lowest. We put a ton of money into our safety forces, which is every community should do that. But this gives you an idea of where we spend our money. Safety forces and service make up our biggest chunk of employee cost. One thing I wanted to do was take a look back and say, okay, we've spent our reserves, but what have we spent it on? And take a look at, from a capital investment standpoint, where have we put our money since 2013? So I took each of our departments, and I'll talk about all of them individually. Fire department. These are just some of the things we've purchased since 2013 in our fire department. Chief's going to be speccing out a new truck, which is probably going to be a $700,000 to $800,000 truck that's going to be purchased for the fire department coming up this year. And so when we look at each of our departments, these are the values associated, and I had budget numbers and my finance director didn't like the budget numbers, so she actually put actual numbers in there. So these are actual numbers of what we've spent in each of our departments. Police department, almost 1.4 million. We look at service and our wastewater. All the stuff that we do around town requires equipment. We have a modern fleet, we have a state-of-the-art fleet, and we have a current fleet. A lot of communities can't say that. So as we start trying to lean back our operational expenses, at least from a capital standpoint, we can pull back some because we know we have a lot of new equipment that's going to be able to last us a number of years while we take a look at all this stuff. So these are some of the things we've purchased over the last 5 or 6 years in this department. I grouped, so Parks and Rec, under Parks and Rec, we have the fitness center, the water park, the golf course. And so this is money invested. So almost $6 million have been invested in all these departments. I mean, things happen. Our fitness center, we've got a 20-year-old building now. We had a $300,000 floor we had to replace, in the gym. We had bathrooms that needed completely remodeling. So, again, a big expense. These are things, but when you look at this kind of gives you an idea that, okay, we've spent money and we've ate up $11 million worth of reserves, but we have stuff to show for it, okay? This is just, and I didn't even include 2013. These are the streets that we've repaired and resurfaced since 2013. $6.1 million we've invested. That's a lot of streets, okay? When you look at this map, I want you to focus on the green and the blue. That means the green and the blue, that's 10 years or less of our streets, of the age of our streets. So we've done a really good job of making sure our roads are monitored and resurfaced when they need to be resurfaced. Very few red up there, and that's 20 or older streets. So when I hear a lot of the complaints about our spending and the different things, and I don't disagree with them on some of the things, but we have a lot to show for what we've spent over the last 5 or 6 years. These are engineering projects. So these are major projects that ran through engineering that were done either in conjunction with ODOT or other organizations, and the total value was around $38.5 million. Now we did receive almost $16 million in funding, but still, that's a significant amount of investment that we've put into our city, whether it's sewer systems, whether it's roadway projects. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of investment within the city of Twinsburg. And these are just other miscellaneous things that we look at, whether it's increasing the way that we communicate with our residents, investing $60,000 into our council chambers, city renovations. Our service guys, the value of the work that they do interior-wise is about $100,000 per year that we put into, whether it's repainting a wall or redoing carpet or what it may be, whether making sure that our facilities are kept up to date. These are all just a list of the things that we've done in the previous slides. And when I total it up, almost $59 million has gone in over the last 6 years into capital investment into Twinsburg. So not only have we maintained our workforce and we've spent, $15 million worth of reserves, we've also spent a significant amount above that to invest into Twinsburg. And that's kind of from a finance standpoint, I've never really gone through this, but that's the message that I wanted to share today, is that while we're working hard with council to make sure that we get ourselves toward a balanced budget, which 2019, we're getting close, but we're not frivolously spending the money. I mean, the money is going into Twinsburg. It's being spent. This was a significant project here. We're bonding it out. It's going to be a long-term payback on this, but we did have some money going into it. But again, this doesn't impact everything else we've done, as some of the residents may have envisioned. So, moving on, City Council. I always want to thank City Council. We've had exciting and challenging 4 years, and it's been fun working with them. We don't have Scott Barr, Brian Steele, and Maureen Stauffer. They couldn't get off work to be here today, but I want to thank Sam, Bill, Greg, Joanne for coming, and I've enjoyed working with them. We at times, it's challenging the job that we have, because no matter what kind of decisions we make, there's always a group that disagrees with it. And it always happens. I mean, this doesn't matter. Whether it's voting to spend money or voting on a project, there's always opposition to it. And so I want to thank them, because we do have a cohesive group now that's been able to get a lot done over the last 3 years. Hopefully 2019 will be another prosperous year for us, so that we can make other improvements in Twinsburg. But I just want to thank them for their partnership that we've had over the last year. This is my family, which I also have to always thank. So, and it's Valentine's Day, so this is my wife. But my kids are getting older. It was funny when I started. I was like, my son was a freshman. I'm like, I can't imagine him graduating. And now he's taller than me and getting ready to graduate. And it's a different stage of life. And I look at things a little differently now. But they've been through the whole, long haul when I started on council in this. But it's really they're the ones that kind of keep me grounded. So I always finish my State of the City with a Bible verse. Today you get a Bible verse and a story. So I went back to my first State of the City. I was only mayor for about 60 days, and I had to talk about the previous year. But this particular verse just means so much to me, because I think as a leader of a city, and I know this probably goes for council too, we have to make decisions based on what our heart tells us to do. And it gets hard at times, but again, if we keep our heart in line, everything we do in life kind of flows the right way. And that's just so important, I think, for me, especially in this role, is staying grounded and trying to do what I think is best for this city. And I know sometimes my methods aren't the best, but as long as I keep my heart in the right place, I think we're going to keep heading in the right direction. All right, and then second, here's the story. So I get invited to a lot of events. And so I got invited by Goddard School to come to their ribbon cutting of Bluebird City. So Bluebird City was, and these are toddlers, and I forgot my thank you card. So they can't even write yet. I got a thank you card the teachers wrote in, and then they scribbled a bunch of stuff on the cards. But yeah, these kids, they can't write, but they put together, and I was so impressed. I got to walk around, and each of them told me what their little part of the city was. And it was, a doctor's office, there was a house with a family and a baby, there was a gas station, there was a restaurant, there was a fire station, there was a police station, but all of them had taken so much effort and time, and they don't know anything about economic development, about budgets, about any of that kind of stuff. But they knew what they wanted in their city. And when I left there, I'm thinking, God, that was, probably the most impactful thing that I had got to participate in over the past years, because these kids, there's only 3 things in life that really drive them, okay? And the first one is they just want to feel loved. That's really all they want. They want to be safe, and they want to have fun. And so when I look back and I said, they built a city based on these 3 concepts, and I'm thinking, what a lesson that taught me that day, is if we can have a city where someone said, what's Twinsburg like? It's a place you can feel loved, be safe, and have fun. Then we're doing okay, I think. So thank you for everything.